They have a PDF. Basically, if you this is from Cox, break it down. It basically I'm always against any version. Oh, this not be person. Um, anyway, what's I gonna do? That's one. Why do I never remember? You know, that's what. Problem is what that means. And there's always this is me being absolutely belligerent. Great. Okay, that's not done. That's still too long. Awesome. They're posted in all the places you usually post. Wait a minute. Is it doing YouTube? No. Ah, yes. Everyone's here. Sorry, guys. Give me like 2 seconds. I need to. My voice isn't cutting out. I literally just have been trying. I forgot to connect the stream. I forgot to connect one of the streams. Uh, there. That's in. Okay, guys. I'm gonna level with you. I have work tomorrow. I have work tomorrow. I have to do some work tomorrow. I have to work with this kid. He's a nice kid. So I don't, no one badmouth him, but I've got to work with him tomorrow. And so uh, I am just awake enough to do this. I managed to fix chat though. So that's nice. Chat's fixed. Oh, wait, crap. I'm in the wrong mode. Okay. It's a 1 hour news extravaganza. We're going to go through everything and everything. Also, hi, F. It's good to see you here. I always wonder if you watch. I keep reading your tweets because Twitter forces me to read your tweets. Um, what was the last thing it showed me? Hold on one second. I was looking at this today. You said something about uh, the last thing it showed me was how you said you were getting over yourself because you used to hate going to places. Like, cause someone tweeted like, I've been going to places and I go keep going somewhere and I became a regular and I hate that. And you went, this used to be me, but then I decided to get over myself. The thing is, I don't think you tweet that much, but it shows me every tweet against my will. There is no choice in this process. Every time I open Twitter, I see one of your tweets. It has been, I've never not seen one of your tweets. It's the best. Uh, I also have like, oh, there's so much to go through today. It's a good thing. Don't worry. It's a good thing. There's so much to go through today. I think the one thing I want to try and get here, it's going to be very small, but um, I have to spend a little bit of time this weekend, probably, or this week, and like really get everything about what's happening with Diamond Comics into one full piece that I can just explain in a go because it just keeps happening and I keep not understanding it because I just don't want to pay enough attention to it to get it. Uh, yeah, that's kind of it. Where is it? Where is it? I'm literally opening my last news website. I bring you guys news from from glorious Nippon. Namely, I have one link. I still haven't figured out how to use Japanese news websites. It takes a little while because you need to understand how their search works and if it actually works in English and translates itself or at all. You know, these are like small things. Um, and so it always takes me a little bit to like get into using a search, get into using a new news organization. So I haven't done that yet, but you know, it's in the work. Okay. Is the audio clear? Am I audible.com? You guys have to tell me if I'm audible. If you don't, I'll cry. Yep. Okay, everyone's happy. Okay, let's keep this one short and sweet. Short and sweet. We'll talk about the Diamond bankruptcy next week. I don't have a lot of Western news for you. But I want to start by talking about something really, really funny. Um, where is it? There's this. Okay. Yes. Okay. Great. I found the article. By the way, you guys already know this. When I say funny, I mean terrible and for your health. So remember that. Okay. Um, remember that. I'm going to start using the Patreon money to subscribe to like New York Times. Well, I wanted to do that, but I don't really want to support them. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Eyeball Zone, everyone, and welcome to an episode of the Webcomics Hubcast, episode 19 of season 4. We are talking about a couple of things this week. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the news as we know it. So this week we're going to talk a little bit about Mile's Library. I spoke about them a few weeks ago. I think it's them. I may be stupid. Um, but they're the ones who introduced a subscription service for webcomics. I want to talk a little bit about what happened with them. They used to have a subscription web novel service, and they added webcomics. We're going to do a quick talk about the Naver collective bargaining that's currently happening because they're all on strike. I'm just going to go a quick overview. I do not know enough information, and I want to do a breakdown of what's going on properly. You guys gave me some leads 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to try and get to that, but I want that to be made aware. I'm just kind of running behind. We're going to talk about the Disney releases. I feel like that's all you guys have seen lately are the Disney releases. Love Disney releases. Anyway, so the Webtoon Disney stuff that's going on, that's going to be great. We're going to talk a little bit about piracy and arresting. That's going to be fun. Um, I'm also gonna bring. I also want to get what you call it. There's like 3 separate articles, by the way, about the Disney um, Star Wars thing from like 2 from the same news organization. It's that big news. Um, and then I also want to talk a little bit about Naver's acquisition because I've talked about this before, but Naver and Webtoon are not done with products, and they're also trying to become massive monopolies in their own ways. And so Naver is acquiring a new product, and I think it's important to talk about what it is, what it means, and what it means about like the Naver Webtoon desire to storm the beaches of Europe. So I think that's important to get to. We're going to talk about Taiwan comics and how they're a little bit on the rise with getting, especially with the fact that there is now funding from the Taiwanese government. And we're going to talk a little bit about Studio 9, which was this is very old news, but I just never covered it. We'll talk about Studio number 9 that Webtoon acquired, just so we know about it. And we're going to talk about the funny stuff. Okay? Okay. All right. Let's get to the funny stuff. Funny, haha, funny. I'm laughing my A off. So, guys, did you know that this is an article from the New York Times? Okay, it's an article of the New York Times from like a few days ago. Like it's not been that long since this article came out. But did you know that New York City, one of the busiest, most like highest like top hiring cities in the world, where almost all the jobs went to for at least like tertiary jobs and investment and all that stuff. Did you know that fewer than 1,000 private jobs were added this year in New York City? Did you know that? Isn't that weird? And I'm talking. You might be like, "Man, why are you telling me about the economy? It makes me miserable." Listen, I have to say this to you because I think it's. I think I like to preface the nature of what's happening to our industry and the decisions that we see being made around us by what's happening to the wider economy. What we're seeing here is that there is a reduction in the amount of people that companies are hiring, and this is largely not because of AI. This is largely because companies are making less money. Because, as I've been saying for almost a year now, guys, we're in a recession. Chat, have I been saying that we're in a recession for like over a year now? Have I been? Chat, please confirm. Please confirm, chat. Good. Someone remind me. But I've been saying it for at least over a year now that we are in a recession. Right? And it's important to see the behavior that companies display to be sure and to feel confident in that. Because this is why, and let me just get to this. The companies in question are investing heavily in these industries that we care about. Don't misunderstand the low hiring to mean a lack of investment. What it is that they no longer see us as valuable enough investments when they're losing or not gaining money at the absurd rate that they expect to, right? So because there is no infinite growth, because line is not going up, even though they have invested billions in manga and also billions in Korean content, with Webtoon investing a ton of money and buying Studio number 9, a Japanese webcomic studio. Also, if you know this, they also own Studio Lyko in Korea, and they own Studio N as well, which is their in-house studio for media and movies and stuff. So with Webtoon spending all this money, I know, of course, Blackstone's there. Private equity is always there. With Blackstone, and with everything from Blackstone to actual Webtoon investing in this industry, they all know that this industry makes money. This is not a thing that is a secret to them. They know that there is a lot of revenue to be made here, and they know that that revenue is not just a little bit, it's big. That's why they're willing to make such big swings. And I'm bringing all of this up to kind of illustrate what we're going to talk about first, which I want to just start off with the strike. I don't know how else to kind of get this across, but we all know this. If there was an employee strike, I'm on the side of the employees. They could have shot a manager, and I would still say they were the good people. I want that to be clear. I'm not going to expand on why, right? But fundamentally, what is happening over there is that they were in talks the employees were in talks with Naver, to have like some kind of agreement on their demands, and the agreement and the negotiations broke down on the 11th. And the negotiations broke down on last month, and then they had their first official strike 7 days ago. The next strike is going to be like, I think, next week, at the end of next week. Um, every single thing. This is an article, by the way, from News One KR. Just so that's said by Shin Unbin. I'm so bad at saying names. I'm sorry. Um. Anyway, this entire strike breakdown involved about 600 total union members, right, from 6 Naver companies. So that was Studio Leica, which is the one that does webtoons, and a few other companies that do other different services around the company around Naver, right? And all they're asking for is to get pay compensation equivalency. They're basically saying that they're being paid a lot less than they expected, right? And that their stock grants are not meeting the gap. There's probably way more details, and I'm not fully understanding their contracts, but that's what they're saying. They're being our pay is too low, and our stock grants are not meeting the gap. Is from what I understand is happening. So they're being basically asking Naver to up their pay so they can be paid fairly, especially as the economy turns down. Again, remember, economy is on a downturn. Companies are more willing than ever to fire people and don't want to pay people properly. They likely and not to mention, they paid a lot of these employees in stock, or gave them some kind of stock bonus with the perception that like the stock would stay up. But while as Webtoon has been going down over the last year, Naver's also experienced a lot of downs, and so the value of the stock may not be equal to what they were promised when they were hired and given that stock as compensation. I think that's very important to mention. Anyway, this is going to be an ongoing strike. It's probably not going to stop this year, next year. It's probably not going to stop till like the end of this year. I meant to say this week, next week. Probably not going to stop to the end of this year. I'm seeing this strike probably going all the way to October. But, you know, our heart goes out to them, and I will keep a pulse on this. I'll get more information, and we'll cover this in more depth, probably next podcast, along with the shit. I forgot the words I wanted to say. Along with the Diamond Comics bankruptcy. Following up from that thing about the economy, I think it's also important to mention that like the economy isn't just affecting the employees of these companies, it's affecting the creators in these companies. This is the Webtoon distribution stats collection from the Korean creative content agency. That's Kaka, the one that like gives out money to Korean Webtoon companies to start up and stuff like that. And they promote Korean media. That's what they do. They have like a thing where they do checks on the amount of webcomics that are launched in a given period of time. I don't think they care whether they're featured or not. No, I don't think they care whether they're not featured. They care about the ones that go through like platforms and companies that have contracts or some kind of monetary agreement that is a little bit above the typical like canvas environment. And this year they only had 8,000 new comics come out instead of the 9,000 from the previous year. It's important to recognize this situation as like that means they're picking up less content. This is that I might say by this year, I mean like the Q1 of this year, my bad. But that means that these companies are picking up less and less content the traditional way. And it probably indicates why a lot of them are going for verticalized versions of Disney comics, of Avatar, of all that stuff. It's a way, I remember I told you, the cost of getting one of those, if I just open the Webtoon site real quick, the cost of like, oh my God, it always looks so bad now. Anyway, the cost of each chapter of Avatar The Last Airbender, I'm saying this as someone with firsthand, I have seen a document knowledge of this, is from what I understand from that document and a few people I spoke to. I don't know if this is a finalist employee, but from what people I've spoken to, it's about $70 a chapter, give or take. Okay? The Korean government is still giving out those incentive grants, but they're not easy to get. And also, like at the end of the day, a lot of them are for corporations to start up and then pay creators, because that's how they see it growing the environment. Anyway, a lot of these chapters cost about $70 to make because they pay them very low because they say it's just reformatting. And you know, because you're only paying about $70 to $100 to reformat, you get different levels of quality. I think the Avatar reformat is great, but I also have seen reformats I don't like as much. For example, my microphone keeps falling, and I know why it's falling, and I have to readjust it. We're going to get to this topic in a second. But for example, there's a reformat on here. I don't remember I can't remember what I was reading last. There's a reformat on Global Comics that I absolutely did not enjoy. It was like there was so much space between the chapters. It was hard to like read properly. It just didn't. I think it was the cyberpunk one. Yeah, it was this one. This cyberpunk reformat. I did not enjoy reading. It was like it just isn't easy to transfer the cyberpunk comic over. Anyway, my point I'm getting at is they're paying a low amount of money. You're getting a low amount of money's worth of work. In some cases, it works great, and in some cases, it doesn't work great. There's one on Web Global Comics that looks good reformatted, so don't misunderstand this. But I think it's important to recognize that like this system has drawbacks that affect the final content that readers get, and you know they're using it as a way to basically stop paying us. Just want that to be known. Anyway, so again, another recession indicator. It's fun, isn't it? It's always fun when it's a recession indicator. And again, that brings us to this topic about Webtoon. Oh, that's good. I'm happy that comic got to the front page. Good for them. That brings us to this topic about the Webtoon Marvel, Star Wars, Disney releases that are coming out. And I believe they're not only coming out in the English market, I think there's a conversation somewhere. I heard someone I spoke to said there was a conversation about it going further, although I don't know what that means. But what we do know is this: we're going to be getting a lot of Disney-owned comics. And some of them are stuff like the Tokyo Pop Disney stuff, right? Some of them are actual proper Disney original comics coming to the platform and proper Webtoon adaptations of those stories coming to the platform. It's going to be interesting. I think that's what they meant. But yeah, some of these are going to be adaptations. So most of these are probably going to just be vertical versions of the original comics. Like I've never seen this oldest time Twisted Tale one, but I do know that I have seen this cover of Spider-Man, the Zeb Wells Spider-Man cover. So I know this. I know what we're going to be getting. Anyway, they're reformatting and bringing these things up on Webtoon, and they might be bringing other content. They're not bringing the Zootopia abortion comic. I'm sorry. What I'm trying to get at here is they're trying to replace us. They're trying not to pay us. And the way they're doing it is by recycling old content. They're all doing it. And they're doing it so much that Korea Jungang Daily wrote 2 articles about it within the span of a day. No, in the same day. In the same day, they wrote 2 articles about it. Right? And like Business Korea wrote an article about it. And these people actually don't even really talk about releases. They often talk about like business moves. But it's just seen as such a big move. Well, I don't think the time of Canvas greenlit comics is over, but I think it's important for Canvas creators to make a set of moves that are a little bit different from the ones they've always been making. I think it's important for new players to look at this space as valuable, as a new way. I think it's important for a company who's coming into the comic space to look at the Canvas creators as a new way of counteracting this wave of recycled garbage. Because that's what everyone's doing. They're recycling garbage to avoid spending money, right? But I think there's a way to not do that and make as much money as you would have as a featured comic. I don't think it'll be easy, but I think there's a way to do it. Okay? And I don't know. I mean, I know what I think you should do, but I don't want to talk about that right now. Because let me be honest with you. I have ideas and they're probably quite bad. Anyway, this episode is sponsored by Words and Pictures 2025, baby. Words and Pictures 2025, baby. We out here. Look, I got the tablets. I got 3 tablets for the Words and Pictures comic contest. We wrote a whole new website entirely in Next.js. We're working on a whole bunch of technology. It's going to look so good. Okay. Please, everybody, join the goddamn contest. It's starting on the 25th. I might delay it 5 days because sponsors are really difficult to talk to, and some of them have taken so long. But get in there. Get your emails in there. Everyone who joined last year, I'm going to be emailing you too. I want to know who you are, and I want to send you emails, and I want us to make comics, and I want to give you this goddamn 22-inch tablet. Look at the tablets. Look at the prizes. Look at them. Come on. You know what I'm saying? I tried for you guys. Everyone else was, by the way, recession indicator, a lot of companies don't want to give anything out because they're all broke right now. Deep recession indicator. I love it. It's the best. It's my favorite part of life. Anyway, um, F said that they want my opinion on how the companies can like fix what's going on. Okay, sure, why not? Let's go back one step a little bit and let's talk about. Oh yeah, the password feature looks great. I took a long time to get it. XP Pen always comes through. My contact at XP Pen is literally my goat. My goat. Akidia, my goat. Oh, bless you. Truly, I can't believe I've been blessed by that one person. Anyway, I couldn't ask for more. Let's go back a little bit to this issue. So I genuinely think that for us to come, like, I think, okay, no. Let's paint. Where's my uh, paint app, Miro, whiteboard? I need a whiteboard website to talk about this. They don't make the whiteboard websites in black, unfortunately. Very depressed. Okay, so let's just talk about this really quickly, right? The current established webcomic company. So I'm going to just put E for established and then webcomic company. U. Anyway, the established webcomic companies are going to big brands, right? They're going to big brands because these are safe bets and they're cheap. $70 a chapter. You don't need to worry about immediate returns because unlike a creator, you actually don't have to pay a company quickly, right? Companies can afford to wait a month, a year, a couple of days to get paid. So often, established webcomic companies love working with big brands because they can wait a year, they can accept low returns, they don't need to, they don't have to worry about paying rent because they have other ways of making money. And in the digital webcomic space, this is a gold mine of people to work with. Now, if you want to compete against that, right? If you want to compete against that and you're an indie comic creator, you need two things. You need the power of friendship. I'm not joking. You need the power of friendship and you need an organized leadership or organized leader above you. And also you need some investment money. But I mean, you don't need investment money, but it helps. Organized leader, you need friends, and also you need some extra cash, right? The extra cash helps. It's not necessary, but I think it helps. Anyway, I'm trying to draw money, guys. The art classes aren't helping. Anyway, what I'm making a case for a comic collective that isn't a comic collective. Okay, my issue is like comic collectives cannot compete with big brands because of one thing. Comic collectives revolve around the fact that everybody gets to have a say in the direction of the company in a way that stops progress for the company and when your competition is a big brand, right? I think a comic collective is great for most people. Like Spider Force is a great comic collective. I love Spider Force, right? But comic collectives are also built in such a way that like you can just never progress and everyone's happy with it. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting to progress. If you don't want to become a bigger creator than you are now by like putting in the grind, honestly, you're so real for that. And I don't mean that in like a rude way. I mean that in like a real way. Sometimes you don't want to like sit down and do marketing and do all that stuff. You just want to have fun. And if you grow, you grow, right? That's why I make my videos. If I put myself in the grind, I would make videos every single day. I would literally be one of those slop channels that posts a 10-minute video every day where I pick a random news article and I talk about it. Do you know how many videos every stream I do could make? Anyway, um, but but I think that right now to compete with this behavior they're doing, you need the organized leader whose goal is organized leadership, not individual leader, whose goal is like growth. These people are thinking about getting you a book deal, getting you printed, getting your merch up, getting your money up, not your funny up, right? They're thinking about your next steps as a reader. They're talking to bookstores to see if they can figure out how to get books into Barnes and Noble for you. You shouldn't need to go here to access the same resources, right? You should be able to work with each other and access those resources. It won't be easy. It'll be very difficult, but it's a pathway that is built for the indie environment. It's extremely expensive and extremely time consuming, right? And also you need friends, because friends equals bargaining power. They don't need to actually like you, by the way. These don't have to be your actual friends. But friends equals bargaining power. And bargaining power is great. Because here's an example of something I've talked about before on stream. I've always told creators, you need to sell ads on your comic. You know, and we may hate ads or whatever, but I've always told creators to sell ads in their comic. And I get a lot of pushback on this from a few people. But my point is that you're making a comic, it's getting views on it. Why aren't you making a little bit of cash from promoting some brand that isn't like too bad and can pay you at least $1,000? Right? Like not you individually, but can pay at least a couple people $1,000. And the thing is, ads are a lot easier to run if you have friends, because then you can collectively bargain for a good ad rate, split the money amongst a couple people, and utilize the EU companies as your marketing vehicle, because they can't stop you from uploading. I mean, they can, but they probably won't. Okay? Anyway, Eric says, in my experience, many indie comic people don't have the sense or the will to make something like this work. I disagree. And I don't disagree to be pretentious. I disagree because I think they do want to do it. It's just hard, man. Like, I don't even know how else to say it. It's hard. It's hard being a pimp out here. No, unironically, it's difficult to mentally construct your life in such a way that you do this work. Look, all right, I don't like talking about it too much. I truly don't. And if anyone thinks I do, please know I really, really, really don't. Hold on a second. I just need to get a website up so I can show you something. Look, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. I've been working on this, right? It's not finished. It's like in alpha, but I've been working on it with a couple people. And hold on, I need to get to the login page. I don't remember how to get to the login page. It's very much, as you can see, in very, very deep alpha. Let's sign in. Anyway, I've been working on this with the developer I met, and like it's not even working. It's not up. The sign up service isn't up. I can't show you what I want to show you. Very unfortunate. I have like a video of it somewhere, but I can't be asked to look for it. Anyway, I've been working on a comic platform. It's not done. As you can very clearly see, it's in deep alpha, right? This is not finished work. But like, I want to do that work. I want to do the work I'm talking about because I truly believe it's good work. And when I talk to other people smarter than me, there's a lot of people who are smarter than me, they agree that it's good work. It's not that it's impossible. It's just that I need you to understand I'm doing the work myself. I'm miserable. I want to say this to you with I'm not complaining, but I want to come to you with like honesty in my heart. It is a miserable job to be the person doing the hard work to build something that like is difficult to even start, build, or maintain. But it's valuable work, which is why I do it. People aren't lazy or shitty or whatever. It's just hard. And if something is really difficult and you already have the difficulty of making your comic and trying to make yourself popular, of course you're going to give up. Like, this is probably the most empathetic I've ever been about this, but yeah. I don't want you to feel sympathy for me. I chose to do this. I'm happy to do this. I love all of you, and I would do this for you guys again because I think it will benefit you if there's an environment like this. But I think it's important to recognize that it is not fun. Okay. Like, I just want that to be said. Like, Konichiwa saying some great things. It's super difficult being an indie artist because you literally have all the jobs associated with your comic. Now imagine all that job and pitching it for the mainstream, but you're doing it for other people, and you may not even like what they're making. Like, you may see it as valuable to have, but not like it. And I think it's also important to talk about to compete with you. Again, you don't have to want to compete. I want to say this to be clear. A lot of people don't care about competing with established webcomic companies. They want to just run their own thing, do their own thing, chill, have a good time. And I love you for that, and you should enjoy yourself. But if you want to do that, if that's something you care about, you want to be in that environment and you want to do that work, right? You need to understand that when you're in leadership, making those decisions, You're not picking comics like web because they're good. You're picking comics because they're good and they're valuable. So let me show you an example. Webtoon would just pick Disney because it's valuable. They don't need to care if the comics are good. With enough Disney comics, it doesn't matter. If I need to pick a creator and I have A, B, and C, and creator C makes that good yaoi, that yaoi that the kids love to read, right? But it's like also cringe and gross, and the dialogue is awful, and I hate it. But creator C is a nice person, and this is what they genuinely like, and people like their work. Creator B could be making sci-fi, which is my favorite genre. Creator A could be making like actually good yaoi that I think is genuinely good. But like there's a real world where if I had to choose between the three of them, I choose C over A and B. Because even I've got a lot of people like A and B in my group. I've got a lot of passionate, good people, but they need a promotional, valuable asset. And C is a promotional, valuable asset that adds value to the group. Yeah. You think Legend has killing stalking because the CEO of Legend loves killing stalking? I can bet money that the CEO of Legend hates killing stalking. But killing stalking is good for them as a brand. It makes them money. It brings in subscribers, and the things that they actually like get to be read because of killing stalking. I'm not saying it's a bad comic, but I just think it's important to recognize that we make these decisions for complicated reasons. Anyway, like we're talking about this because we're talking about how they want to replace it with vertical comics, right? And it's important for us to recognize that the only way that we can compete with that, if we want to, is to play the game a little bit. Unfortunately, the only way to win in capitalism is to play the game of capitalism. I hate to be the one saying it. And we're trapped in the system for now. We might as well be good. So since it's digital, why not A, B, and C? A couple of reasons, Konto. One, you might have a limit on the number of people you can work with. So here's a great example. When I'm doing this plan, one of the things I've been doing is I've been writing out like the way I'm going to be intaking people, because everyone you intake, you have to do a couple things for. So let's say I take in Comic C, right? What's Comic C's process for ingesting? And this is not as like a big company, as a small indie company. We gotta create ad material for them, or at least like start testing out ad templates, right? We got to give them our code of conduct and run them through like behavioral things they need to do that they can't do, so they don't affect everyone badly. So that's part of our onboarding, right? We got to understand their current level, and then we have to learn about their story, about the trajectory of their story, about when, and then start talking to them about their desire for like growth, like not start, but start talking to them about the specific moments when we can start developing their IP. Like let's say I onboard Comic C and it's making the yaoi I talked about, right? But they're only like 10 chapters in or 15 chapters in. They just blew up really quickly, and they don't have a full understanding of where their story kind of is going to go, because they're taking this week by week, right? They have like an idea of what the story is going to be about, but they don't know like when they're going to have a lull, when they're going to have the next big event. They just know they're going to take it pace by pace right now because they just started, and they're going to start planning the next big event. Well, I have to start talking to them about planning the next big event. I have to teach them about it if they don't know about it. I have to understand, okay, what's the next thing you want to do as a creator? Some creators want to just make merch. They don't want to print their books yet. They want to finish drawing this, and they want to go over it again at the fine-tooth comb so they can get it printed. You got to account for that as part of your process, right? Some creators are impossible to publish anywhere that isn't in small batch publishing. If you're working with that creator and they're making the really bad, in my opinion, yaoi, right? They may be impossible to get in bookstores. Let's pretend I have the bookstore availability, right? There's like a whole avenue I can't take advantage of. I now need to find a way to take advantage of that, find a new avenue to take advantage of for that kind of creator, right? It's a lot of legwork for individualized things that help them grow in their own way. And so if you onboard 5 people, you're doing this 5 times. If you onboard 10 people, you're doing this 10 times. And doing it once takes like a week for some people. Just a week of raw time, right? A week of working time. And so, doing it for 5 people at once will take about a month. just over a month, doing it for 20 people. Like, what happens is there just comes a limit on who you can onboard. And so you're not picking all three because you may not be able to onboard all three. In that example, I chose A, B, and C, but really it'll probably be A's 1 to 5, B's 1 to 5, and C's 1 to 5, right? And I got to play that game. Also, you need to think about release structure. Like when you're releasing these comics, like once you get the people in and you're going to do the big advertising release, you need to start thinking about how you market it. And when you're Webtoon, you can market things individually, but when you're small, you actually have to market things in groups. It's why VTubers do this a lot. You have to market things in groups because it allows you to put lower performing content next to higher performing content, take advantage of everyone's lift, essentially, and like get a big response one time instead of getting a lot of tiny responses. Because big response one time is actually way more valuable than tiny responses 100 times for your brand and for your growth and for your reach. Anyway, yeah, sorry if that was really boring, but yeah, I hope that made sense. And if you disagree with me, please tell me. I would love to know why you disagree. Genuinely, I want to know. Anyway, yeah, that's everything I want to talk about in terms of like, the verticalized comics and stuff. They please. Oh, by the way, one last thing. One of the things that Webtoon did last time they were in a situation where there was an economic recession coming was they started buying people's comics even though they were not going to do anything with them. A friend of the show and friend of me, Seashell Arts' comic was bought by Webtoon and put in the featured section. What Webtoon does, I'm just going to talk about this very shortly. They buy a completed canvas comic, right? Completed canvas comic. And they just, yes, Eric, I saw the message. I have begun looking at it. I'm sorry, I've been dealing with a personal thing, but I do have I literally pinned your message in my thing. So I'll get to that probably tomorrow or the day after. Probably tomorrow evening. Anyway. Okay, but let's just talk about this thing real quick. The last time the economy like kind of hit a low, Webtoon started buying complete canvas comics and then putting them on originals, but they didn't develop them. They didn't, and I don't even think they gave the creators any pay. They paid them, or I think they gave them a one-time payout. Do not let them do this to you. Like before, I was like, just get your bag, whatever. Do not do this. This is theft. This is theft. Don't do this. This is theft. Don't do this. Don't even agree to this. While they're verticalizing content, they might want to acquire some originals content to just kind of bolster out the release structure. It doesn't all look like they've become a Disney platform. Normally, I would say just get your paper, get your bag, but they're not going to even use you for what they used them before, which is just to hoard content and keep it away from other platforms. They're going to do a more sinister thing. You're going to be padding for Disney. You're going to be Disney's padding, right? And that's all you're going to be. They will not give you access to to an editor. They will say they will give you that, but it doesn't mean anything. Okay? I need you to understand what I'm saying to you. Do not do this. Under no circumstances should you sign away any of your rights to Webtoon right now, unless those rights involve paying you a consistent salary. This goes for Voice Me, Webtoon, Global Comics. Right now, the money is tight, not in each company, but across the entire economy. And the behavior that they display when the money is tight is they hoard. They hoard a lot. Okay? And that Disney deal that Marvel Disney deal may not be exclusive. So you might expect to see that Marvel Disney stuff on other platforms. Keep that in mind. I just want you to know, okay? Anyway, we talked about this. Let's talk about piracy. Piracy again. Okay. Guys, this is the funniest ever. Okay. So there's a company there was a piracy website in Korea called Yubin Archive, right? Yubin Archive is basically Korea's largest online piracy ring. They were mainly distributing textbooks. They're mainly distributing textbooks, but they were also, I think they were also distributing one or two like webtoons along the way. They all did this using a Telegram group, and the Korean government got access to it, and raided the homes of everyone at the highest levels, took their phones, everything. This is part of the Korean Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism's crackdown on copyright infringement. In the era of the comic and in the era of media being of what you call it, in the era of Korean media and Korean items becoming more and more valuable, they do not want anyone even singeing a single one off of the top of these companies, profit margin. Okay, this follows the last story we talked about on the channel. I would open the YouTube channel. In fact, I'm just going to open the YouTube channel. Why do I not have my channel immediately linked? Anyway, they've been they're cracking down on all piracy. All piracy. Remember, this follows this live stream. Remember the live stream I did? This must have been maybe a couple months ago. Where's it? Here. This one, 11 months ago, almost a year ago, damn. Anyway, where this guy was arrested, where the webcomic pirate guy was arrested. He was arrested for what he did. They're cracking down on all piracy. They will not allow you to scrape even a single one off the top of these people's revenue goals. Okay? They are not playing around no more, and you should not fuck around with this shit. Okay? Do not get caught out. Please, if you're going to pirate content from South Korea, be from Russia or Belarus. They don't have any extradition treaties with them. Okay? Do not get yourself, or at least put your server in Belarus and only access it in the most convoluted way possible. Please don't get caught like this. I'm begging you. Piracy is something that I have a complicated relationship with because I generally don't care and I don't think it affects profit margins. But when countries do this, when nations do this with their copyright infringement, understand that it's not even about the content that you're stealing, it's about who you're stealing from. Apple did this once a few years ago. Apple started saying that every repair shop that was buying old Apple parts or even just broken devices was committing piracy. And they sent ICE, the shitty little racists. They sent the little racist terrorists to invade every single every single repair shop. I think it was in the West Coast. And they had all the phone and laptop repair shops raided and had their things taken from their office. All the Apple stuff taken, seized, with no explanation as to why. Because ICE has always been a terror organization. I'm not even going to pretend like I don't have that opinion. Okay? But yeah, please be careful. Okay? Okay. I almost forgot about this story. The only reason I even know about this story is because Louis Rossman, who is a an advocate for right to repair and also a device repairer, talked about it happening. And this was like a few years ago. Anyway, just so we know that. Anyway, back to some lighter news. Let's talk a little bit. And this is one of our final pieces of news. This is actually kind of our almost our last one. We want to do Q2 report. Naver is trying to acquire a Spanish social commerce platform called Wallapop. Wallapop. It's Naver. Owned about 30% of the company throughout 2021 and 2023, but now they have bought it for $500 million with a total. I think they ups their stake to 70%. No, it ups their stake to 100% of the company, and they spent about $700 million buying this company. Yeah, $700 million buying this company. And they bought this social commerce company because, as you know, they own Poshmark in the United States. Naver has been big on social commerce, on video commerce, and how it's going to change the game. And eBay's making those moves. And it's important to understand this because if social commerce changes and a lot of commerce goes video, there's a real likelihood that as creators of comics, the expected way for us to sell and market our content on storefronts could eventually be through social commerce, through the short form video commerce, live stream content, etc. It's important to keep these things in mind and understand them. I know they always sometimes feel like I just want to talk about Naver, but I'm telling you this so you understand what the future might look like and adjust your behavior accordingly. Again, this is where having friends and organized leadership comes into play. because they could help you figure that out. Which reminds me, I'm still looking for members for my collective. It's still in progress, but I would love to start talking to some people early on about working with me and understanding what they're looking for, etc. So if you are thinking about looking for someone to work with, this is not me trying to hold you to anything, and it will just be a casual conversation. DM me. I would love it if your content, if you're making comics for a while, like at least longer than 6 months, and have deeper goals, and be at least an intermediate artist. Please don't be a beginner. Also, yes, NSFW is accepted. I'm just gonna tell you. But but for the people who make that, it'll be a little bit complicated. We're not gonna get into any deep thing, but if you know a friend who fits that goals and would love to work with someone like me, even though I kind of suck, let me know. Nothing's gonna happen immediately. Everything's gonna take time, but it'd be great to start getting some numbers and names and being able to use that for other bargaining to help us move forward. Sorry, someone walked into my room to ask me something. Anyway, yes, just wanted that to be said, wanted that to be put out there into the world. Interested, maybe. I always get an interested, maybe. Why don't I just get, why isn't F wanting to work with me? Ephemeris, work with me. Give me your IP. No, I don't want your IP. I want to work with you, but I don't want your IP. Just to be clear. Anyway, almost forgot about this. Guys, I told you this about subscription comics. I told you we are going to see if it makes money, and it does work. It does work. It works really well. Melee's Library, the people who were running a subscription web novel platform, now running a subscription webcomic plus web novel platform, maintained almost a decent chunk of their subscriber base after they increased the subscriptions to account for the webcomics. A lot of their subscribers stay, and they're posting record-breaking quarterly revenues of $20 million. Guys, it works. The subscription model works, especially when it's affordable and low price. And I believe that the subscription model costs what? I think it worked out to about $10 to $15, which I think is quite high. IMHO. But hey. Anyway, just wanted that to be mentioned. And now we're going to do what I wanted to do from the beginning. We have a little bit of time. It's only been an hour, so I can give you another 15 minutes. Let's review a little bit of the Webtoon Entertainment Q2 report. Guys, I didn't get to listen to this live, unfortunately, but I will be listening to the audio and doing a proper breakdown of what's going on. But I want everyone to know that Webtoon smashed all of its goals. It smashed every single goal. I think my favorite thing about it that is that even though they smashed every single goal expected, they still made a net loss of $3 million. Oh my God, the economy, capitalism is a joke. Oh, their adjusted EBITDA, which is meaningless, by the way, was $9 million for Q2. So that's great. What matters is this: their growth year on year was almost 10%. Right? Almost 10% total growth year on year. And that is big for them. That is big for the company. They also announced, of course, how the updates are increasing user activity. Whether you think that's true or not is interesting. But the platform saw a 19% increase in monthly active users. I'll let you decide if that's true. They talk a lot about how, all of these verticalizations are bringing in a lot of new audience members. And that IP adaptations and the movies and the TV show, everything is working in their favor, right? But I think what we really care about here, what we really want to look at, where is it? Here. Their global monthly active users based compared to last quarter went down, right? They lost users, but compared to the previous quarter, it has gone up by about 10 million monthly active users. Summer does affect it, but it does even out globally because not everyone takes that summer. Also, their monthly active users aren't based on people who are reading every night. You just need to log in once a month. So that's why they use that number. If you log in once a month and you read anything ever, they're happy. This is the most deceptive graph I've ever seen. Whatever, I don't care. Anyway, the thing. Oh, here it is. This is let's talk. This is also their performance by location. Even though they lost users in Korea, on average, their Korean revenue went up, and people. So you see this number here that says ARPU. Let me just zoom in. This number here, this graph, Korean ARPPU, is the most important graph. This is the average revenue per paying user. So when people are paying, how much are they paying? And the average user in Korea is paying $8. The average user in Japan is paying $22. Jesus Christ. I don't want to think about it. The average user in the rest of the world is paying $6. The rest of the world, by the way, includes us. That's almost everyone. Webtoon stopped counting the US separately because the revenue numbers just kept going lower and lower. Oh my God. I want to zoom out. Anyway, those are the most important things, especially because the reality is that everywhere in the world, apart from Japan, their monthly active users went down. So, Webtoon is doing great, annoyingly, but it's not doing as well as I think they hoped. They could always stop counting it. When you're making these investor reports, you're supposed to basically show your key locations of big monetary movement. So I'm not surprised that they did that. There's other things to break down in this document, but I don't have the time to do a full breakdown of it. I will read it and I will do a full breakdown. I will talk about what's good and what's bad. What I want you to know is this. This year, Webtoon is beating last year's record, but their monthly active users are still down. So there is a reality that there's still burnout on Webtoon from the way they're operating, especially in the English market where they saw an almost, what was it again? No, I agree with you, Sam. Like, it's huge. It's a huge jump. They're doing really well. But we need to acknowledge that there are things that look like pain points, in my opinion. In the rest of the world, they've lost 8% of their monthly active users year on year. And in Korea, their home turf, they've lost 11% of their monthly active users year on year. That's bad, And that could be as a result of exhaustion. While the average user is paying more money, what you saying trust, it makes sense. I'm not saying it's not expected. It is expected. We expected the numbers to go down, but it could also be a sign of burnout. Not a crazy amount of burnout, a mild burnout. Just in making that clear. And also, it's not as impressive, Sam. Because they use a coin system. Because they use a coin system, it just could mean that more users are willing to pay and buy the coins. They have increased user spending, but they're just losing overall users. But I want to see what Nuketown's gonna say about this, because I want to know why he thinks, what you call it? I don't know why they think that MAU going down is good trust. I want to know, because it might be something I've said again, where he tells me something I already said before, and then I go, oh, like an idiot. I will say this, Sam, for you to know. Look, they have the fake number. They have the fake number, adjusted EBITDA, also known as nothing. It means nothing. By the way, EBITDA means earnings before taxes, before taxes, and like paying your bills and then paying your employees. And adjusted EBITDA just means before paying a bunch of stuff that you're supposed to pay. Like, if you just don't pay anybody, you can say that you made a profit on adjusted EBITDA. I wish I was kidding. It's a joke. Anyway, it's a fake number. When you see adjusted next to EBITDA, fake. Stripping back your free users while increasing the buy-in from paying users is good, though. Free users are cost burden, so losing them is not a horrible thing. While that is true, Sam, especially because of their current size, you're right. It doesn't matter if they maintain as many free users. It's important to recognize the fact that they may also be losing paying users, and we're not privy to this information. So I would never say that, strictly speaking. especially because while their ARPU went up overall, this was expected. This was expected behavior. Oh yeah, Nuketown. No, 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 no. You're actually making sense with the AI algorithm theory. Okay, no, it's coming to me. It's coming to me. How am I making a theory that I keep forgetting on this? One random chatter is tracking a theory I made that I've forgotten because I'm an idiot. No, you're right. You're right. It is still the front banner. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah, it's causing what the only reason they're losing users. It's a very slight loss as well. It doesn't matter as much. I mean, it depends. Next quarter, I think is going to really define whether this MAU loss is meaningful because there's an amount of MAU loss you can have that I would still put this under. But yeah, like this seems to be working for them. They're shedding users that are only there to read top content, not really pay attention to anything. Everyone who's left behind is stuck in the AI algorithm that they're implementing and will be reading content specifically through their algorithmic feed. And so they will be way more hooked and way more willing to spend money. And that increases spending because it increases addictive behavior and increases spending through that. But that also makes them gameable. Having an AI algorithm like YouTube has introduced them to an environment of gameability that they're trying to avoid, but they will experience. But what I mean is just like YouTube content is gameable. This is gameable. That's it. Yeah, it's the one we thought to be similar to YouTube. Yeah, this is the YouTube similar to YouTube addition that they made to the website. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to this conference call. I'm gonna listen to a couple of things. I'm gonna read this entire business metrics thing. But net income adjusted to remove the impact of interest income, interest expense, income tax expense, depreciation, and amortization, and further adjustments to eliminate the loss of and on equity investment. Man, this is literally nothing. Sorry, I just saw the definition they have for adjusted EBITDA. This is a joke. Okay, let me just talk about adjusted EBITDA for like 2 seconds because you guys are going to see this a lot. Hold on, let me check something. Am I going to have to buy Webtoon stock? Oh my god, my stock doubled. You know what's funny is I only own like a handful of Webtoon stock, so I still made a loss. I still made a loss. No, I agree with you, Nuketown. The front banner really did skew views and it skewed attention and it skewed all of that. So quite literally, the value of the algorithm is being seen because we're going to have a lot of very strong viewership. Because now what it's going to be is you're going to find content that's very specifically tailored to you. I believe that the algorithm is also probably going to change the idea of what a good view count is. I think it really is going to change what good view count is. You know what I mean? Because like as we progress forward, what's likely going to happen? So what it is we collected the data early, so it doesn't matter. And our data is less focused on numbers. I want that to be known. We're focused a lot less on numbers and a lot more on relationships between content. Like we care about numbers a little bit because I think it tells us who Webtoons be choosing to succeed. And if we collect this data again this time next year, it will obviously be different, which will allow us to decide to talk about how the AI algorithm has been changing things, right? But I think it's also important to recognize that, like, how do I put it? The main reason we collected the data is to understand what people are reading, why they're reading it, how the content that's being read relates to each other, and the value of and like the and the audience effect on Webtoon, right? Like, and what I mean by that is this: Nuketown, me, and Thrillgates all make action comics. But if I make an action romance story and Nuketown makes an action comedy story and Thrillgates makes an action sci-fi story, we may or may not have an audience overlap, and there's a way we're using a method to track this. It's not perfect, but it should work. But the question is, if we have a significant audience overlap, how significant is it? How does that relate to our comics, and how does that relate to other comics in this space, right? And that's an important thing to understand because it allows you to understand, like, if one or all three of those comics kind of go down, would it basically like eliminate that audience from the platform? Would those people stop reading? How would it affect their reading behavior? These are like small things that don't matter too much, but are interesting to think about, look into, and process. And we're looking into it because I want to use it to acquire users for my collective, to acquire creators for my collective. That's a lie. I just want the data. But acquiring creators for my collective is a great secondary point to it. Yeah. Jesus Christ. The Webtoon stock going from trading under $6 to trading over $15 in one day. Literally anybody who invested yesterday or in April when it was really bad has doubled their money. If you just dropped like $1,000 in there, you'd make $2,000. It's not that good, but it's pretty funny. Anyway, that's everything I wanted to cover today. Any questions before the night ends? So I gotta go out tomorrow early. So I want to do questions. I want to do chat real quick. Chat. Also, anything that's happening in your creative environment, anything that's happening I don't know about, tell me stuff. Give me information. Feed my ego. Tell me how you are. My MBTI, is that the Myers-Briggs thing? I think it's INTP. I will have a good night's sleep, I think. I injured my leg. That's been very difficult to deal with. It's made walking hard. I don't know if I told you guys when I injured my leg. It's been interesting. Why do you want to know my Myers-Briggs? Who's Myers and why does he break? Just at the gym. Oh, also, I'm just gonna tell you guys, I'm still looking for sponsors for Words and Pictures 2025, even though the contest is coming up basically in like 7 days. I'm still looking for sponsors. So if you know anyone who wants to sponsor a comic contest, let me know. I could use a sponsor. Yeah, that's all. What are your thoughts about Webtoon Canvas's current state? Do you feel the monetization of the Webtoon originals during the pandemic was a bubble that burst? That was 100% a bubble. That was 100% a bubble because the number of users that they got, everything, the predictions they made, the loans they took out make no sense to me. Webtoon Wattpad was almost a failure, and they only managed to salvage it by basically changing the entire goal of Webtoon Wattpad Studios. You know, so I went to Scrivener, they ignored me. Scrivener ignored me hard. Anyway, hey Adora Burb, I'm just talking. We're literally finishing up. Anyway, if you have any questions for me though, Adora Burb, please tell me. I do think that Webtoon made a lot of, in my opinion, kind of dumb decisions. They overpaid for a few things during COVID, but they're very good at taking advantage of what they got. I genuinely do think that. I do think though that is Canvas is losing its utilization to the company in some ways. I don't think it's like some kind of deep rot. The end of the world is not coming. But we must acknowledge that Webtoon's goal of going to Canvas to recruit content is no longer as pertinent to them as acquiring other kinds of new outside content. Especially the Marvel imports and the Disney stuff. All that's there to bring in a new audience so they can have new readers. Why they didn't go YouTube Algo years ago is because I don't think they were confident in it, but also I think they wanted to use their money to control what was popular so they could get a certain kind of fixed, controlled popularity. Like, you need to understand, if you have YouTube algorithm early on, what it turns into if you're successful is that your top comic is Jake Paul. It's Logan Paul doing the Suicide Forest. Like, it's that. I'm not joking. That's almost guaranteed every time. If you are a little bit uncontrolled with your algorithm at the start and you're looking just for popularity and growth and you don't care who it comes from, your top players will either be people talking about leaving your platform or they will be top people like Logan Paul, Suicide Force. What do? You pay for people to be successful. You vet them, you play the game, you take a little bit of time, and in fact, you bring your own people over. You can set the standard of behavior, quality, and content. It's the way you play the game, right? Somebody said, uh, I'm reading this question. Somebody was like, does it connect to what you guys talking about with the Disney deal and Canvas are changing? Yeah, Disney deal is changing a lot of stuff. Disney deal, in my opinion, is probably very volatile. Okay, let's have a quick chat about something. I have worked with a lot of people in comics, either tangentially or directly, and there's stuff I can and can't say. What I can say to you, which is very important to bring up, is very simple. I'm trying to really work around this. um, okay, here's how I'll say this. A lot of companies are looking at working with companies like Disney and DC and Marvel, DC and Image and all those companies, right? Global Comics literally had to sign a thing with DC. You know this is obvious. They have some kind of working agreement with DC. That's why DC is on Global Comics, and that's why Kodansha is on Global Comics and coming to Global Comics with their manga, and even agreeing to agree to day and date releases. Although I think those releases are strictly linked to their actual like books, and not linked to their individual what do you call it? Individual volume. They're not linked to individual chapters. Like you don't each chapter isn't coming out, but books are coming out on Global Comics. The books are coming out. Um, and those books will also only be, if I understand something properly, they're also only purchasable. Like, okay, let me just say this to you. The books that Global Comics is getting from Kodansha are, this is almost a little bit of an outside, but I just want to bring this up. Global Comics is taking a deal with Kodansha that, in my opinion, is so bad because they're paying for a bunch of money, paying a bunch of money for a bunch of manga, which is great. We love Kodansha manga, and I actually like that they're making this deal with Kodansha in some ways. But the books seem to only be purchasable. There is no way to like stream them with the subscription. You can only buy the PDFs. On and people who pay a monthly membership to the platform, have to buy the PDFs anyway, but they get to buy them at a reduced price. Yeah, it's just how Kodansha already does it. This is this is not as good a deal as it looked. I didn't even read this fully. I forgot to read it fully. I'm sorry. That's why I forgot. I even forgot to talk about it. But like, I want you to understand what the environment is like right now. The companies, the corporations are looking for lifts that are free or near free, right? They don't want to pay anyone external money. Or if they want to pay external money, they want to pay that external money to a quote unquote established brand, right? And so Global Comics, Webtoon, and a whole bunch of other companies are paying these top level corporations in some way. They're paying them somehow. I don't know how much they're paying. I don't know what they're paying, but they're paying them somehow. And in return, they're getting content that they have very little control over in a lot of ways, because those companies will have their own goals and their own objectives, and have their own ways of operating that they will not bend on, right? As we've just seen with Kodansha. But for Global Comics and for Webtoon and for whoever else is doing this, paying that company $50,000 is a surer bet than paying a creator $50,000. So they don't care. And even though the work they have to do to work with these companies is immense, they would rather do that than work with a dozen small creators. That's a very big change in the mentality of the industry. Because look, I've done one of these launches for these companies when I worked at Global Comics. And I'm not like, this is not bashing the companies because they were nice people. Everyone was really nice. But the work to launch on everybody was so awful. Everyone seemed miserable up to a launch. It just felt like they were doing so much work just to launch something. Understand this: when you launch a single creator, your editor is stressed, maybe the head editor is stressed, and you are stressed as a creator. When you launch one of these companies on a platform, it's like everyone in the company is stressed. There's no there's no isolation of pain. It's all of our pain at all times. And the pain doesn't stop because they will ask you to do things that creators won't because they can't, because they're bigger. I think this, I don't, you know, and it's not from a negative behavior. It's just the nature of a business deal, right? When you work with a company or a corporation, you have to promise them a little bit more because they're big enough to make their own money. You work with a creator, they can't make their own money, so you can promise them a lot less. I don't know. This is also writing the word a la carte in that Global Comics announcement. Sorry, I'm just reading. I'm just going to show you this. Sorry, look at this. This is the way they announced Kodansha. Kodansha a la carte is coming to Global Comics on August 21st. That doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry, maybe I'm stupid. I probably am stupid. But like, you know, you use your gold membership, you read stuff, or you buy a PDF. I forgot where the PDF purchasing is. Sorry. I may just be dumb. I may just be dumb. It's unfortunate. Um, I think the unfortunate reality. Oh no, it's in here. You have to like click into the comic and buy. Because on the old website it was like a thing. Is it not anywhere? A la carte means like ordering separate. Yeah, it means that. I just didn't know what the word a la carte meant for some reason. I speak French. I don't know why I didn't know what the word a la carte meant. I feel like my brain just broke when I read it because I was just thinking like as a reader how it didn't make sense to me. It's whatever. It's my fault. Like it doesn't actually matter. It's just my fault. Um, yeah, so you can buy the manga separately, but you get a discount if you are a subscriber compared to being a member, compared to not being a subscriber. I literally never, I don't see it on any restaurant menus I've been to, but also I only go to like McDonald's. I don't go to McDonald's. I only go to like restaurants, like small restaurants. Oh, pff. Anyway, Mr. Nen, if I may ask, do you see basically less Canvas comics listing in the future, a more established IP in a nutshell? Will editors be more selective on what to take from Canvas? I think that they would be more selective. I don't think we'll get less. I think we'll just get a different offering. I think they'll start looking for people who are publishing as a group, people who are publishing under like a company banner and making multiple comics. I think we'll see a lot fewer people getting to be featured, and I'm staying featured. I'm never saying originals when I mean this. I'm going to see a lot fewer people getting to be featured that are just individual creators. I don't think it will be some kind of conscious decision. I think it will be a very unconscious decision that will be happening. Also, I wanted to be said on top of this. I think a lot of the corporate comic companies are seeing this. Um, I think a lot of the comic companies are just seeing this because I know of a comic company, a comic production company that works for Voice Me, or at least that worked for Voice Me, that's looking for other people to publish their work. I know of at least one, if not two. So these people are seeing the writing on the wall and they're seeing that they are more valuable than an individual creator. Also, I think Webtoon will get rid of Canvas as a whole because they'll probably go the the Naver Comics route and make Webtoon the Naver Webtoon route and make Webtoon like a website where it's mostly their stuff promoted and everything else that comes up is algorithmic. This makes the whole like idea of a collective even more valuable. These are my genuine beliefs, and they may not do it, but I think in Korea they do that. I believe in Korea there is no canvas. Sorry, I forgot my login. I have a login, but I completely forgot. I believe in Korea there is no canvas. It is all. It is just all up. Oh no, there's challenge. The challenge is still there. My bad. I'm just stupid. I'm just stupid. Yeah, there's still canvas. I'm just dumb. I'm dumb. There's still canvas. Ignore me. Ignore me. That was a completely incorrect opinion. That was a completely incorrect opinion. They didn't market the Webtoon Legends contest because it's hard because it's only 2 points where they could market it at the beginning and at the end. In the middle, there's nothing to really market. No decision's been made yet. There's no big announcement. There's no headline for a news organization. I don't blame them for not talking about it. That's very normal. Like there's no deep headline there. The thing is, Webtoon. If you're getting a very low growth on Webtoon, I think you're not playing the Webtoon game. I don't mean to say that in a mean way. I mean like you should probably reprioritize how you play Webtoon a little bit, just to see if it changes anything. That's all. Publishing on Webtoon is a little bit isn't simple, but it isn't difficult. Like you need to look at what's popular on the platform. So, and okay, This is me talking very business wise. So please listen to me. Understand, I don't mean like for fun. You need to look at what's popular on the platform. Like I would literally sort by popularity, and I would just go through the top like the first 10 pages, right? I would just go through the first 10 pages and see an average of what's popular. Look at what makes good thumbnails. Look at what people are clicking on. Why are they clicking on them? Read the comics and read the comments. Read the comics and read the comment, right? And then when I go through that, I'm going to pick a genre and pick a thumbnail format and pick a look that matches what is hitting these top 10. Or if I'm already making something, I'm going to reformat my clickable links to that. So I make my thumbnail to fit this established format. Look at how the thumbnails that are popular on Webtoon have faces on them. So they're not artsy. They're very direct to the point. Main character, side character. Sometimes they love the name. They love tags that let them know who's involved, right? They love faces. They love tags. So GLBL. Maybe you want to put something like um, I don't know, violent or whatever, right? They love that stuff. This one is popular because of offline TV, so that doesn't really count as much. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm taking out meaningless things. Book of Adam doesn't count because it's Adam taught. I'm not going to count it. But this is popular. This has been popular for a while. And look at why it's popular, right? People love this kind of romance. People love something that feels a little bit mysterious. They love the vibes. Not even on page one, I'm on page three. Let's go to page one. Page one, what's on page one? Established, like not established, but not established, not established, established, not established, established, established. No, not established. Uh, yeah, does that make sense? Oh, they also love what you call it? You can see we go higher up. They love some kind of um male rivalry. They love rivalry. They love something that looks like they're fighting or something. These are not big deals. These are not going to make you a millionaire overnight. But like, let's just pay attention to it, if that makes sense. And then when you read the comics, you will get some broader understanding of like what to add to your stories that may capture these audiences while keeping yourself authentic. You know, and if you're making something that's not that, maybe look at your genre and like just I'm not asking you to do something hard. Just play the game. Play a little bit of the game. Look at the post-apocalyptic genre. Who's the most popular by like? Let's sort by like. Oh, Oblivion Tear is the most popular post-apocalyptic comic. Is that the main genre? It is the main genre. How many likes they get per chapter? They get 704. Okay, let me temper my expectation. If I'm going to make an apocalyptic comic, I need to understand that I'm not going to get a billion likes. I'll be doing well in my genre, but I won't be doing well compared to everyone. I don't know. Does that make sense? Did that help you? I hope it did. I'm sorry if it didn't. I just thought it'd be useful to talk about. Anyway, I gotta stop. Otherwise, I will be here forever. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Please join the Patreon. Convince your friends to join the Patreon. Convince their friends to join the Patreon. And again, if you are looking for someone to work with and you have been making comics for a little while and you are an intermediate artist, I'm not looking for a beginner artist. I'm looking for someone who's been making, whose art quality and production quality is pretty good. DM me, right? I'm not going to take advantage of you, but I would love to talk to you about what you might be looking from in a platform or a collective, and maybe we can make something together. That's all. And I think it's also important to bring up the fact that I love you guys. I hope you're okay. How do you market a very niche webtoon? Trade on its weirdness. Trade on how weird it is compared to everything else out there. Just that's really the main thing. Like, just if you're gonna do it, trade on how weird your comic is. Trade on how strange the characters are. Make a lot of marketable art and post it. Take advantage of your community a little bit more, and also take advantage of people who are not as interested in a comic but are interested in your weirdness. Anyway, that's it. Good night, everyone. Damn. Oh, remember to subscribe. Subscribe.